All right. So, sometimes I feel like I'm stuck in a bit of a vocabulary rut, using the same words day after day.
I know what you mean.
But I was looking at this guide to 20 advanced words, the kind that, can really make you sound smarter in everyday conversations.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be fun to kind of deep dive into some of these words.
I think that's a great idea. It's not just about sounding smart, though, right?
Right.
It's more about expressing yourself with more precision and nuance. And honestly, even understanding how other people are using language to kind of persuade you or inform you.
Right. Yeah. It's like you can be more persuasive and also not be persuaded by other people.
Exactly.
So we're not aiming to turn everyone into Shakespeare here.
No.
But I bet you'd be surprised how many of these words you've already encountered
Yeah.
without realizing, how much they can elevate your communication.
Absolutely. And that's actually what's so interesting about this particular set of words. They're not pulled from some obscure academic journal or something like that.
Right.
They're words that appear in everyday conversations, articles, books, you name it.
Yeah.
So knowing them inside and out, that really makes you a better speaker.
Yeah.
But it also makes you a more critical listener at the same time.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like having a secret decoder ring for the English language.
I like that.
Yeah. So let's unlock some of these words.
Okay.
What's our first one?
Well, we'll start with intriguing. Now, on the surface, it just means very interesting.
Yeah.
But think about the difference between saying, that movie sounds interesting,
Right.
versus that movie sounds intriguing.
Ooh, yeah. Intriguing definitely has more weight to it.
Right.
It's like you're saying that movie has hooked your curiosity and you need to know more.
Precisely. It suggests a much deeper level of engagement. You're not just passively interested, you're actively drawn in.
It's almost like intriguing implies there's a mystery to unravel.
Yeah, there's something more to it.
Yeah. Okay, what's next on our list?
Let's go with diligent, meaning showing care and perseverance in your work. Now, you could easily just say someone is hardworking, but diligent, that carries a different connotation, doesn't it?
It does. Hardworking just sounds like putting in the hours. But diligent, like you said, it makes me think of someone who's truly dedicated to their work.
Exactly.
Who really takes pride in what they're doing.
And that distinction can make all the difference, especially in like a professional setting.
Oh, totally.
Imagine you're describing a colleague to your boss, right? Diligent paints a much more impressive picture.
Right. It subtly implies that they go above and beyond just the bare minimum.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm already feeling my vocabulary muscles getting stronger. What's word number 3?
Let's tackle one we all know too well. Tedious.
Yes.
Meaning, of course, boring and repetitive, something that just seems to drag on forever.
Yeah. Tedious is the perfect word for that stack of paperwork on my desk.
Oh, I know.
Or that meeting that could have been an email.
Exactly. But the reason this word is so useful is that it allows you to express that feeling of boredom.
Right.
In a more sophisticated way.
So instead of just groaning that something's boring, using tedious actually makes you sound more articulate.
Precisely.
Right.
And it also allows you to be more specific about, what kind of boredom you're experiencing.
Okay.
Tedious implies a sense of monotony, of having to do something repetitive and unchallenging.
That's a good point. It's like saying, this is boring and it's making me feel drained because it's just so mindless.
Right. And by using that kind of nuanced language, you're really signaling to others that you're thoughtful and attentive to detail, even when you're describing something, negative.
Okay, I can definitely see how that could come in handy. Let's keep going.
Okay.
What's our next word?
This one's a big one, and we hear it used a lot, especially these days. Unprecedented. It means, quite simply, never done or known before.
This is definitely a word that carries a lot of weight, especially in the news.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like every other day there's some unprecedented event happening.
I know, right? But that's why it's so important to understand its true meaning.
Okay.
Unprecedented isn't just about something being new or different. It's about something being truly groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Something that breaks the mold.
So it's not just about a change, it's about a truly significant shift.
Exactly.
That's never, ever been seen before.
It's about recognizing those moments in history or in science or culture.
Yeah.
That just completely change the game.
And by using unprecedented correctly, we can avoid kind of diluting its power and make sure that it's used only when it's truly warranted.
Absolutely. It's about using language with precision and impact.
Okay. That's 4 words down, 16 to go.
Wow, we're making progress.
I know, I'm feeling more confident already.
That's great to hear.
What's up next?
Let's aim for completeness with comprehensive.
Okay.
This word signals that something is complete, thorough,
Uh-huh.
including all the necessary details.
So instead of just, asking for a report, I could ask for a comprehensive report.
Yes.
Meaning I want all the data, all the analysis, no stone unturned.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And imagine, like, you're reading a review of some new gadget, right?
Uh-huh.
A comprehensive review that would cover all its features, the pros and cons,
Yeah.
comparisons to other similar products, and so on.
It's like saying, give me the full picture, leave nothing out.
Precisely. Comprehensive just implies a level of depth
Yeah.
and thoroughness that goes, beyond the surface.
I can see this word being useful in all sorts of situations.
Oh, yeah.
Work, research, even just planning a trip.
Absolutely.
Okay, what's word number 6?
Let's get a little more nuanced here
Okay.
with subtle.
Okay.
This word describes something that's not obvious,
Uh-huh.
delicate, or understated.
Ooh, subtle is a good one. It's like noticing those little details that most people might miss.
Yeah.
Like a subtle hint of spice in a dish, or a subtle change in someone's mood.
Exactly. And this word is all about being perceptive,
Uh-huh.
about paying attention to the fine details.
Yeah.
It suggests a level of awareness and understanding
Yeah.
that goes beyond the superficial.
I love that. It's like saying, I see what you did there, but in a much more sophisticated way.
Exactly. Subtle implies a deeper level of observation
Yeah.
and insight.
Like, this is great. We're already starting to unpack some really interesting words here.
I know, this is fun.
What's up next?
This one might hit a little close to home for us. Jargon. It refers to the specialized language used by a particular group or profession.
Oh, yeah. I think we're all guilty of using jargon sometimes. It's so easy to fall into that trap,
I know.
especially when you're talking to people in your own field.
But being aware of jargon and knowing when to avoid it, that is crucial for effective communication.
Yeah.
Think about it. Have you ever been in a conversation where you felt completely lost?
Oh, yeah.
Because everyone was just using all these technical terms that you just didn't understand.
Absolutely. It's like they're speaking a different language.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel so excluded
Yes.
or even intimidated,
Exactly. So while jargon can be useful, within a specific group,
Yeah.
it's important to remember that clear, simple language,
Uh-huh.
that's usually the best way to communicate with a wider audience.
Right. It's about making sure that everyone is on the same page, regardless of their background or expertise. Okay, what's word number 8 on our list?
Let's talk about ambitious,
Okay.
a word that often gets thrown around. But do we really understand its full meaning?
Mm-hmm.
It's more than just wanting to succeed.
Yeah.
It's about having this strong desire to achieve something truly significant.
So it's not just about climbing the corporate ladder. It's about setting goals that are truly challenging and meaningful.
Exactly. Think about it. You could say that someone's ambitious because they want to be a CEO, right?
Right.
But you could also say that a scientific research project is ambitious because it aims to solve some major global problem.
So ambitious can apply to individuals and their goals,
Yeah,
but also to projects, ideas, even entire organizations.
absolutely. It's about setting the bar high and striving for something that pushes the boundaries.
I like that. It's about aiming for excellence, for making a real impact.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep this vocabulary train rolling. What's word number 9?
This one's crucial in our increasingly interconnected world. Empathy.
Okay.
The ability to understand and share the feelings of others.
Empathy is more than just sympathy, right? It's about truly putting yourself in someone else's shoes and seeing the world from their perspective.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that everyone has their own unique experiences and perspectives and being able to connect with them on like an emotional level.
I can see how empathy is essential in so many areas of life, from personal relationships to professional settings to even just navigating society as a whole.
Absolutely. It allows us to build stronger relationships, resolve conflicts more effectively,
Yeah.
and just create a more compassionate and understanding world.
All right, we're almost through our first 10 words.
I know. Can you believe it?
What's the last one we'll tackle in this section?
Let's finish with reluctant.
Okay.
It describes someone who's unwilling or hesitant to do something.
I feel like I use this word all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm reluctant to try that new restaurant because I've heard mixed reviews.
Yeah, exactly. Or he was reluctant to share his ideas because he was afraid of being criticized.
It's about expressing a sense of hesitation or reservation without being outright, negative or dismissive.
Right. And sometimes that hesitation, it's warranted.
Totally.
Reluctant can signal that you need more information or convincing before you're ready to fully commit.
Okay, so we've covered 10 fantastic words already.
I know, it's amazing.
I can already feel my communication skills leveling up.
Me too.
But this is just the beginning, right?
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
We've got 10 more words to explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh yeah, we're just getting started. Welcome back. I hope you've got your mental dictionaries ready.
Yeah.
Because we're about to unlock 10 more powerful words.
Okay.
That can add some serious punch to your vocabulary.
I'm ready to expand my linguistic horizons even further.
Excellent.
What's the first word we're tackling in this round?
Let's start with elaborate, which means to explain something in greater detail.
Okay.
Think of it as going beyond the surface level, really fleshing out your thoughts.
I can see how elaborate would be useful in so many situations. Like if someone gives a presentation with a really interesting idea, you could say, "That sounds fascinating. Can you elaborate on that point?"
Exactly. It's a great way to encourage deeper discussion and get to the heart of a matter. You're signaling that you're not just passively listening,
Right.
but you're actively seeking a more comprehensive understanding.
It's like saying, "Tell me more, I'm all ears."
I love it.
Okay, what's next on our list of vocabulary power-ups?
Let's embrace a little bit of the unexpected with spontaneous.
Okay.
This word describes something done without planning,
Right.
something impulsive and in the moment.
Ooh, I love a good dose of spontaneity. It's like throwing caution to the wind and just going with the flow.
And sometimes, those spontaneous decisions, those lead to the most memorable experiences.
For sure.
Think about it. Have you ever just taken a spontaneous road trip?
Oh, yeah.
Or decided on a whim to try a new restaurant?
Yes. And those are often the stories I end up telling over and over again.
Yeah.
Right? It's like spontaneity injects a little bit of magic into life.
I completely agree. It keeps things interesting. It allows us to break free from our routines.
Okay, I'm feeling energized by that word. What's next on our list?
Let's come back down to earth a little bit.
Okay.
With mundane, which describes something ordinary, routine.
Yeah.
Or even a bit boring.
I think we all experience those moments of mundanity in our lives.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the everyday stuff that we just have to get through.
But here's the interesting thing about mundane. It's all about perspective. What one person finds mundane, another person might actually find comforting.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or even enjoyable.
That's a good point. Like, I find folding laundry to be incredibly mundane, but my partner actually finds it really relaxing.
Exactly. So while mundane, might have these kind of negative connotations, it's important to remember that it's subjective.
Yeah.
What matters is how we choose to approach those everyday tasks.
Right.
And find meaning in them.
Okay, I like that reframing of mundane. It's a reminder to find the silver lining, even in those, most ordinary moments. What's our next word?
Let's get real with candid.
Okay.
Which means open, honest, and straightforward.
Candid. I appreciate people who are candid. Even when it's not always easy to hear, it shows a level of authenticity and respect,
And that candid communication, that is crucial for building trust. And strong relationships.
Totally.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Would you rather someone sugarcoat their feedback or just be upfront and honest with you?
Oh, definitely upfront and honest.
Yeah.
It might be uncomfortable in the moment.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's so much more helpful.
Yeah.
And productive.
Exactly. Candid allows for real conversations to happen.
Yeah.
And we can learn and grow from each other's perspectives.
Okay. I'm ready for our next word. What have you got?
Let's find some relief.
Okay.
With alleviate, which means to reduce or relieve pain, difficulty, or stress.
Ooh, alleviate feels like a very soothing word. Like taking a deep breath and feeling the tension just melt away.
I love that. Think about it in different contexts. Like, a doctor might prescribe medication to alleviate a patient's pain. A government might implement policies to alleviate poverty.
Right.
Or even on a personal level, you could say, listening to music helps me alleviate stress.
Exactly. Alleviate can be applied to such a wide range of situations.
Oh, yeah.
From physical discomfort to emotional distress to societal problems. It's about taking action to make things better.
Yes. to ease burdens.
Okay, we're over halfway through our second set of words.
I know, this is going by fast.
What's next on our vocabulary adventure?
Let's talk about versatile, which describes something or someone who's adaptable,
Okay.
able to be used or function in many different ways.
Oh, versatile is a great word to have in your arsenal, especially in today's world where adaptability is so highly valued.
Absolutely. Think about, like a chef who can cook any cuisine, or like a tool that can be used for multiple tasks. That's versatility in action.
It's about being resourceful, adaptable, being able to pivot and thrive in different situations.
And in a world that's constantly changing, versatile individuals and organizations, they have a distinct advantage. They can navigate challenges and seize opportunities with, greater ease.
Okay, I'm making a note to add versatile to my resume. What's up next?
Let's acknowledge those moments of unplanned action.
Okay.
With impulsive, meaning acting without thinking about the consequences.
Oh, impulsive. That can be both exciting and a little bit dangerous.
That's right.
Sometimes those spur-of-the-moment decisions lead to these amazing adventures, and other times, not so much.
It's true. Impulsivity can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It can lead to spontaneity, excitement, but it can also lead to regret if we're not careful.
I think it's about finding that balance between being open to new experiences and making sure we're not acting recklessly,
Exactly. And sometimes a little bit of planning can go a long way in preventing those impulsive decisions from backfiring.
Okay, I'm ready for our next word. What have we got?
Let's vent a little.
Okay.
With frustrating.
Okay.
Which describes something that causes annoyance or disappointment.
Oh, frustrating. We've all been there.
Oh, yes.
Those moments when things just don't go our way.
Yeah.
Or we encounter obstacles that seem impossible to overcome.
But here's the thing about frustration. It can actually be a powerful motivator.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. When you're frustrated by a problem, you're more likely to put in the effort to solve it.
That's a good point. It's like frustration can fuel our creativity and our problem-solving skills.
Exactly. So next time you're feeling frustrated, try to channel that energy into finding a solution. Into overcoming the challenge.
Okay, we're down to our last two words in this set.
I know, I can't believe it.
What's up next?
Get ready to be captivated by compelling, which describes something that evokes interest, attention, or admiration.
I love the word compelling. It's like a magnet,
Yeah.
It draws you in and makes you want to learn more.
Think about a book that you just couldn't put down.
Oh, yeah.
Or like a speech that left you feeling so inspired. Those are examples of compelling content.
It's about creating something that truly resonates with people.
Yeah.
That leaves a lasting impact.
And it's not just limited to words, like a compelling piece of art, a compelling performance,
Yeah.
even a compelling personality. All of those can have that same magnetic effect.
Okay, on to our final word for this segment.
All right, let's do it.
What do we got?
Let's conclude with the power of resilience.
Okay.
With resilient, meaning able to recover quickly from difficulties or setbacks. It's about bouncing back from challenges.
Yeah.
Stronger than before.
Resilient is such an important quality to have, especially in today's world, where we're constantly facing uncertainty and change.
Absolutely. Think about it. Resilient people, they don't let setbacks define them.
Right?
They learn from their mistakes. They adapt to new situations.
Yeah.
And they just keep moving forward.
It's about having that inner strength and determination to overcome obstacles and come out on the other side.
Yeah.
Even stronger than before.
Exactly. Resilience is about embracing challenges as opportunities for growth.
Yeah.
And using them to fuel, our personal development.
Okay, we've explored another 10 amazing words. I'm feeling so empowered by this expanded vocabulary. But before we move on, I'm curious. Which word from this set really resonated with you?
It's hard to choose just one. So many of them feel so relevant to everyday life. But I think resilient, that one's really sticking with me.
Yeah, I can see why.
It's such a powerful reminder that we can bounce back from challenges,
It is. And it ties in nicely with something we've been highlighting throughout this whole deep dive, right?
Learning and using these words, it isn't just about, sounding smarter.
Right.
It's about equipping yourself to navigate the world more effectively.
It's like we're giving our listeners a toolbox.
Yeah.
Filled with these linguistic power tools.
I like that analogy. And just like any good toolbox, it's important to keep adding new tools, right?
Right.
as you encounter new challenges and situations.
So this deep dive, it's really just the beginning, right?
It is.
It's about sparking curiosity and encouraging our listeners to keep exploring, this vast and fascinating world of language.
A lifelong journey.
So where can our listeners go from here? What are some, practical tips for expanding their vocabularies even further?
Well, there are so many great resources available these days. You could start a word of the day ritual, subscribe to those online dictionaries or like etymology blogs.
Oh, yeah.
Or even just make a conscious effort to pay attention to the language used in your favorite books, podcasts, movies.
I love that idea of making it a daily habit.
Yeah.
It's like a mini workout for your brain,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Flexing those linguistic muscles.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to use those new words in your own conversations, right?
Right.
The more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
That's such an important point. It's not enough to just memorize the definitions.
Right.
We need to actually put these words into practice,
Yeah.
to really make them our own.
Think of it this way. Every new word you learn, it's like adding a new color to your palette. It gives you more options for expressing yourself with nuance and precision.
So before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a bit of a challenge.
Okay.
What's one word you learned today that you're going to commit to using in a conversation this week?
Oh, that's a good one. And I would add to that, how will using that word change the way you communicate? The way you're perceived?
Yeah.
Or even the way you think?
That's a great question to ponder. Remember, the power of language is immense. It shapes our thoughts, influences our actions, and connects us to each other.
It really does.
So go forth, listeners, and wield those words with confidence and intention.
I love it.
That's it for our deep dive into 20 advanced words you can use every day.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, happy wordsmithing.
Okay, so going from intermediate to advanced English.
Ooh, yeah.
It's a big jump.
It is.
It is a big jump, but it's totally doable.
Absolutely.
And in this deep dive, we are here to help you make that jump.
That's right.
We're going to be your guides, and we're going to be sharing some of the best shortcuts and secrets.
Yeah, all those little kind of cheat codes, those hacks.
Cheat codes, yeah.
To unlock
your English potential.
their full potential, exactly.
Because we've got a treasure trove of tips and tricks.
We do.
To help you with all 4 skill areas.
Yeah.
Reading, writing, listening, and speaking.
It's all covered.
All covered. And the best part is you can start using these right away.
Immediately.
This isn't just theory.
Yeah, this is practical.
This is practical stuff.
Stuff you can use day to day.
No need to dust off the grammar textbooks.
Nope.
None of that. We're diving right into the real world.
The real deal. Real world English.
The real deal.
How to speak and write and listen and read like a native speaker.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kick things off with reading.
Okay.
So, you've been crushing those Agatha Christie novels.
That's great.
You're doing really well with those, but
It's time to level up.
it's time to level up.
We're going to graduate to the
Big leagues.
Economist.
The Economist, exactly.
BBC News articles, maybe even some academic journals.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there.
Putting, your skills to the test.
Yeah.
Getting you ready for that university application or that job interview.
Okay, so I remember when I first started reading, complex texts, it felt like I was encountering a new language.
Oh, I know that feeling.
It's like every other word I didn't understand.
Right.
And I want to grab the dictionary.
Yes.
And look up everything.
It's so tempting.
It's so tempting, but is that the most effective way to learn?
Well, it can be a bit of a trap.
Okay.
Because, constantly stopping to look up every word.
Yeah.
It really kind of breaks your flow.
Yeah.
It can make reading feel like a chore.
It can, yeah. Instead, I really want you to kind of harness the power of context clues.
Okay.
Think of yourself as a detective.
Ooh.
Piecing together a mystery.
Yep.
You don't always need every single detail to understand the big picture.
Right.
So let's say you come across a sentence. Like the scientist's groundbreaking research earned her accolades from the international community.
Okay.
Now, you might not know what accolades means right away, but from the context, can you kind of guess?
Yeah, it sounds like she's earned some kind of recognition or praise.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's getting awards or something.
Yeah, maybe awards, praise, recognition.
Something like that.
Something positive.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, so you've used the clues around the word.
The context clue.
To figure out the meaning.
Ooh, I like that detective work. It's fun.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
It's like a puzzle.
And it's a little bit less intimidating
Oh, for sure.
than having to look up every single word.
Yeah. And another strategy you can use to get better at this is to actually look for synonyms or antonyms
Okay.
in the sentence or the surrounding sentences.
Go ahead.
Because often they can kind of give you these hints
Oh, okay.
about the meaning of that unknown word.
So it's almost like a built-in kind of decoder ring
Exactly. Yeah.
for you to figure out the
I
vocabulary.
like that. Yeah.
I like that.
The decoder ring. That's great.
So what about exploring different genres?
Oh, yeah. That's a great point.
Does that help as well?
It does.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because venturing into different writing styles,
Okay.
like poetry or technical writing,
Yeah.
or even legal documents,
Oh, yeah.
it can expose you to a wider range of vocabulary and different sentence structures.
Right. So it's like adding different spices to your
Yeah.
language palette.
I love that.
Okay, so we've tackled reading.
We have.
But what about writing?
All right, writing.
How do we go from writing, grammatically correct sentences
Yeah.
to crafting really sophisticated and stylish prose?
Oh, that's the goal.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's about moving beyond
Yeah.
simply conveying information.
Yeah.
It's about expressing yourself
Yeah, that's a really good point.
with nuance
With nuance.
and impact. Yes.
So instead of saying, I like traveling,
Right.
you could say,
Uh,
I'm captivated by the allure of exploring diverse cultures and breathtaking landscapes.
wow. Yeah.
Same thought,
Much more evocative.
but way more impactful.
Right.
It's like you're painting a picture
Exactly.
with your words.
Instead of just stating a fact,
Yeah.
you're actually bringing the reader with you on that journey.
But how do you learn to do that?
That's a great question.
I mean, it feels a bit daunting.
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be, but there are, certain things you can focus on.
Okay.
One is to actually really think about your sentence structure
Right.
instead of relying on those simple subject, verb, object sentences.
Yeah.
Experiment
Okay.
with things like compound and complex sentences.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, I went to the store, I could say, although it was raining heavily, I ventured out to the store because I desperately needed coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Is that kind of what you mean?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're adding detail.
You're adding detail and you're creating a more kind of interesting narrative
Right.
just by changing that sentence structure.
Yeah, so it's not just about adding like fancy vocabulary.
No.
It's about structure.
It's
how
about-
you're
it's all-
crafting it.
The way you put those words together,
Yeah, okay.
the way you phrase things
Real.
to create a certain effect.
So it's about being intentional
Yes.
with your choices.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So we've talked about reading. We've talked about writing.
Yes.
Now let's talk about listening.
Ooh.
Listing, which can be one of the most challenging
It can be.
aspects of language learning.
Especially at the advanced level.
When you encounter
Yeah.
different accents,
Accents,
rapid speech,
the speed,
and
idioms. Yes.
that make no sense.
That make absolutely no sense when you first hear them.
Yeah,
Right.
like a linguistic jungle out there.
It is.
Do you have any tips for navigating that?
Well, I think one of the best things you can do
Okay.
is to really immerse yourself
Okay.
in authentic English content.
Okay, so like not just language learning podcasts,
Not just those,
but like branching out.
listening to podcasts designed for native speakers,
Oh,
even if they're not about topics that you're, super familiar with.
Right. So it's okay if I don't understand every single word.
Exactly.
It's more about
Getting that exposure
getting that exposure.
to the natural flow and the speed
Yeah.
of real English.
Okay, so would you recommend things like, if I'm going to listen to podcasts?
Yes.
What kind of podcasts?
Well, there are so many,
Yeah.
but I think a few good ones to start with
Okay.
are, the English We Speak, which is a great one for learning idioms and expressions.
Yeah.
And then TED Talks Daily,
Okay.
which is just a fantastic way to kind of get exposed to different accents, different topics, different styles of speaking.
Okay.
And then, something like Serial,
Yeah.
which is, a really captivating storytelling podcast.
So a variety of different things.
Yeah. And honestly, the best resources are
Right.
the ones that you find
Okay.
genuinely interesting and engaging,
Right, because then
because that's what's going to keep you coming back for more.
that's going to keep you coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've heard about a technique called shadowing.
Oh, yes.
Is it supposed to be helpful for listening?
It's a fantastic technique.
Okay, so can you explain what that is?
So basically, shadowing is you're listening to a native speaker,
Okay.
and then you're trying to repeat
Okay.
what they're saying as closely as possible.
So mimicking their
Mimicking.
pronunciation, intonation, even their rhythm. So it's kind of like vocal exercises.
Exactly.
They're for English.
Yeah, it's like going to the gym for your mouth and for your ears.
I've never tried that before.
You should give it a try.
But it sounds really effective.
It is.
To pronunciation.
Yeah, and you can do it anytime, anywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do it with podcasts. You can do it with audiobooks.
Yes.
You can even do it with YouTube videos.
Right. So anything you're listening to.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So we've covered reading.
We have.
We've covered writing.
Listening.
Listening, yes.
Now let's talk about
the big one.
The big one.
The one that everybody gets a little bit nervous about.
Yeah.
Speaking.
Speaking.
Yes.
I think a lot of people, myself included, we get nervous.
It's understandable.
About speaking in a new language.
It is.
Especially at an advanced level.
Especially when you're trying to reach that fluency.
Yeah.
You know, where you can express yourself with nuance.
With nuance, yeah. And, you know, and effortlessly.
Effortlessly. It can be nerve-wracking.
It can be, but, you know, the key is just practice and exposure.
Practice and exposure.
Yeah. The more you practice speaking,
the
more confident and comfortable you'll become.
Well, that's easy to say.
I know.
But sometimes it's hard to put into practice.
It is.
Especially if you don't have a lot of opportunities to interact with native speakers.
Yeah.
How do you go about doing that?
Well, you know, there's still lots of ways to practice.
Okay.
Even if you don't have regular access to native speakers, you know, you can join online language exchange communities. You can find conversation partners through apps or websites or, you know what, even record yourself speaking.
Oh, okay.
And then listen back to it.
So you can hear.
So you can hear.
How you sound.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what about those moments where you're having a conversation and you want to use like a sophisticated word or a phrase, but you're not sure if it sounds natural.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Or forced.
It's all about finding that balance.
Okay.
You know, you don't want to sound like you're trying too hard or, you know, using a thesaurus to impress people. You know, it's about using advanced vocabulary in a way that feels natural and authentic to you.
So it's not about showing off.
You know? No.
Your vocabulary. It's about using the right words.
It's about using the right words for the right situation.
Right.
And in a way that feels...
To express yourself clearly.
Yes, to express yourself clearly and effectively.
Okay.
So I always think about it like, you know, adding spices to your cooking.
Oh, okay.
You know, you don't want to overwhelm the dish with too many flavors. But, you know, a few well-placed spices can really enhance the taste and make it more interesting.
I like that analogy. Because it's not about cramming all these big words.
Exactly.
But it's about, you know, thinking thoughtfully.
It's about being strategic.
About how you use advanced vocabulary.
Exactly.
And the more you expose yourself to advanced English, the more it will just...
It would flow naturally.
It will start to flow naturally,
It's like building up that foundation.
A foundation, exactly.
And allowing your
your
spoken English to blossom.
The blossom,
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
From that.
And, you know, remember, everyone makes mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Even native speakers. So don't be afraid to just experiment. Try out new words, try out new expressions.
Right.
The most important thing is to communicate effectively and have fun while you're doing it.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like giving yourself permission to play.
To play.
With the language.
Exactly.
I like that.
And to not be afraid.
Yeah.
To make mistakes.
Yeah, I think we've covered
so
much ground already.
I know.
And I'm already feeling more confident about my own English skills.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear.
Just from, you know, hearing your advice.
Well, remember, it's a journey.
It is.
And it's all about taking those small steps.
Yeah.
Celebrating the progress.
Right.
And never giving up.
Never give up.
No.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And come back to tackle even more.
More tips, more strategies.
Tips and strategies.
Yes.
In part 2.
In part 2.
Of our deep dive.
I'm excited.
Into advanced English.
Me too.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Okay, so we're back.
We are back.
And we're ready to dive even deeper.
Deeper.
Into this world of advanced English.
That's right.
And we've covered so much already.
I know, we've covered so much.
From decoding tricky vocabulary to expressing ourselves with more nuance and style. But we're not done yet.
No, not at all.
We still got plenty of tips.
Oh, we've got a lot more.
And strategies to share.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to integrating all 4 skill areas.
That's right.
Reading, writing, listening, and speaking to create a truly holistic approach
Holistic, yeah.
to language learning.
That's the key.
So it's not about mastering each skill in isolation.
Right.
It's about weaving them together
Yeah, weaving them together.
to create this tapestry
I love that analogy.
of fluency.
It's like a beautiful tapestry.
But how do you actually do that in practice?
Okay, so let's say you've just read a fascinating article
Okay.
about the future of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Instead of just passively consuming that information,
Right.
why not challenge yourself
Okay.
to summarize the key points in writing?
So you're taking what you've read
Take what you've read,
and then processing it
put it into your own words
in a new way.
in a new way.
So you're reinforcing your comprehension, but you're also developing your writing skills.
You're synthesizing the information,
Yeah.
and you're expressing it in a new way.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And what about listening?
Okay, listen.
How can we connect that skill
Right.
to the other ones?
Okay, well, imagine you're listening to a podcast
Okay.
about a controversial topic,
Right.
like climate change.
Like,
Afterwards, you could have a discussion with a friend
oh,
or a family member
Okay.
about the main points
Okay.
that were raised in that podcast.
so you're taking those ideas
You're taking those
that
ideas
heard,
out of your head and then actually
putting them into practice.
talking about them
Okay.
with another person.
Exactly.
Oh, I like that.
So you're practicing your listening comprehension,
Yeah.
but you're also formulating
Right.
your own opinions.
And then speaking them.
Yeah,
Wow, that's a good way to practice.
it is.
You're listening and you're speaking. Yeah, and it helps you remember the information better, too.
Oh, okay.
When you engage with it on multiple levels,
Okay.
it kind of gets embedded.
Embedded.
Yeah.
So it's not just about each skill individually.
Right.
It's finding these ways to connect them,
To connect them, yeah.
to create like a synergistic learning experience.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is inspiring.
Good.
It feels like, we're giving people
Yeah.
a blueprint for like
Yeah.
becoming masters of English.
That's the goal.
But let's be honest, sometimes even with like the best of intentions,
Yeah.
it can be tough to stay motivated
It can.
and consistent with language learning.
Yeah.
So, any tips?
Yeah, I think setting specific achievable goals
Okay.
is really important.
So instead of just aiming to improve your English,
Right, because that's very broad,
yeah, it's broad.
very vague.
Right.
Set a concrete target.
Okay.
So you could say, okay, this week I'm going to learn 10 new vocabulary words.
Okay, so specific,
Specific.
measurable.
Measurable, yeah.
I like that.
Or this month I'm going to write one short essay.
Okay.
Or every day I'm going to listen to
Great.
30 minutes of English podcasts.
So it's like it's broken down
Yeah, you break it
into these bite-sized pieces
bite-sized pieces.
that you can actually manage,
Exactly.
that feel achievable.
Yeah.
So you're not overwhelmed
You don't feel overwhelmed.
by this huge goal.
Yeah, because that can be really daunting.
Yeah.
And it can actually put people off.
Yeah.
So yeah, break it down into smaller chunks.
Make it manageable.
And then you can see your progress.
Right. So you're actually seeing the result and
Exactly.
you feel good about it.
Yeah, and that keeps you motivated.
It's encouraging to keep going.
Exactly.
And what about tracking your progress?
Oh, tracking is a fantastic idea.
Okay.
So you can use a simple notebook or a spreadsheet or even language learning apps
Right.
to keep track of your goals,
Okay.
your milestones, your achievements.
I like the idea of keeping like a
Yeah.
language learning journal.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Like write down interesting words you find, new phrases.
And, you can even reflect
Oh, yeah.
on how your journey is going.
Yeah.
Celebrate your successes.
Celebrate the little wins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And remember, even small steps are still progress.
It all adds up.
It all adds up in the
It's
end.
not about being perfect.
No, not at all. It's about
It's about consistency.
consistency.
It's about just chipping away at it.
chipping away at it,
Little by little.
little by little,
Every day.
every day.
Even if it's just for 15 minutes.
So you don't need
No, you don't
hours and hours.
You don't need to block out hours and hours.
Okay.
Just 15 minutes a day
15 minutes a day.
can make a big difference. A big difference. Okay.
It's like exercising a muscle.
Okay.
Regular, consistent workouts
Yeah.
will get you better results
That's it.
than one big, intense session.
Right. So it's like a marathon,
Exactly. It's a marathon.
not a sprint.
It's not a sprint. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, it's about building those habits,
Yeah.
making it sustainable.
Yeah.
And remember,
Yeah.
you've got so many tools and resources
Okay.
available to help you.
Okay.
Language learning apps, online dictionaries,
Yeah.
grammar checkers.
Right. There's a lot out there.
There is.
We don't have to do it alone.
No. And the best part is, you've got this amazing community of language learners out there.
Yeah. So many people are learning English.
It's one of the most, spoken languages in the world.
So we're not alone.
No.
And it makes it more fun.
More fun, more enjoyable.
When you're doing it with others.
Absolutely. And more rewarding.
This is so positive. It's like you're giving us a roadmap.
Yeah.
For success.
A roadmap for success.
Not just with English.
No.
But like in life.
In life, exactly.
About that consistency.
Consistency.
It's about, celebrating the small wins.
Yeah, celebrating.
It's remembering that it's a journey.
It's all about the journey. And, the more you embrace that, the more rewarding it will become.
And English is just this...
It's a gateway.
Gateway to so many other things.
To so many other things.
Yeah, it's about expanding your horizons.
Expanding your horizons.
Connecting with new cultures and new people.
Absolutely.
And unlocking
your potential.
Yeah.
As a global citizen.
It makes me realize it's not just like...
It's not just a set of skills.
A set of skills, yeah.
It's so much more than that.
It's a journey.
It's a journey, yeah.
Of self-discovery.
Of self-discovery.
Yeah, I like that.
It's about growth.
Okay, so we've covered so much.
We have.
In just these 2 parts.
I know, it's amazing.
But we have one more part to go.
One more to go?
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
We've got some exciting final thoughts.
Final thoughts, yes.
And a thought-provoking question.
A thought-provoking question.
To leave you with. So stick around.
Stick around.
For the grand finale. All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into advanced English fluency. And I have to say, I'm feeling super energized after all the amazing tips and insights we've covered.
I know, me too.
But before we wrap things up, I'm curious.
Okay.
What are some of the biggest kind of breakthroughs or aha moments you've had in your own language learning journey?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the biggest kind of light bulb moments was realizing that language learning, it's not just about memorizing rules and vocabulary. It's about developing this deeper understanding of how language works as a system of communication.
So it's like
cracking a code.
Cracking a code, exactly.
Yeah, like understanding the underlying principles.
The structure, the patterns.
Yeah, and then it makes it easier to
you can kind of
navigate those nuances.
All the little twists and turns of English.
Exactly. You start to see the connections between different parts of the language.
It makes it less intimidating.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
And, another kind of breakthrough for me was actually embracing the idea of making mistakes.
Okay.
As part of the process.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in that fear of making a mistake.
Especially when you're like...
When you're speaking.
You're like,
yeah.
I don't want to mess this up.
It's just special. Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to mess this up.
But the truth is, mistakes are inevitable.
Yeah, you get to make them.
You are.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
They're actually valuable learning opportunities. Oh, that's a good way to look at it. Instead of
seeing them as failures.
Yeah, like beating yourself up.
Exactly.
It's more about
it's like, oh, this is a chance for me to learn.
Yeah.
And grow.
Yeah, I think a lot of language learners, myself included, we tend to be perfectionists.
Yeah, we want to get it right.
We want to get it right every time.
Every single time.
Yeah.
But you know what?
What?
It's okay to let go of that need for perfection.
All right, give myself permission.
Give yourself permission,
To not be perfect.
To make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because that's how you learn.
Yeah, okay, so embrace the messiness.
Embrace the messiness, yeah.
Of the learning process.
Because that's where the magic happens.
Okay, I like that. And speaking of, not being afraid to experiment.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to, find ways to make
it fun.
Language learning fun and engaging.
Fun and engaging, yeah.
So do you have any tips for, I think one of my favorite ways is to connect it to your other interests and passions.
Oh.
So, for example, if you're a movie buff, why not watch English language films with subtitles?
Okay.
Or if you love music,
try
listening to English language songs.
Yeah.
And read the lyrics.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's about kind of finding those things that you already enjoy.
Yeah, so you're not...
Yeah, and then you're kind of...
forcing it.
You're sneaking in the language learning.
Sneaking it in.
Without it feeling like a chore.
It's more natural.
Exactly. It's more organic.
I like that.
And I think it's also important to,
Yeah.
celebrate your progress.
Celebrate those little wins.
Celebrate those little wins,
Yeah.
no matter how small.
Even if it's just like, I learned a
Yes.
new word today.
Yeah, or I understood a whole sentence in a podcast.
And I didn't have to look it up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a win.
It's a win.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that
Yeah.
language learning,
It's a journey.
it's a journey,
It is
not a destination.
a destination, yeah.
There's always going to be
Right.
more to learn, more to explore.
There's always another level.
There is.
Just reach.
And, the beauty of it is
Yeah.
the journey itself is so rich
Yeah.
and so filled with discoveries.
Discoveries. Yeah.
So embrace those challenges.
Okay.
Savor the victories
I like that.
and never stop exploring.
Keep going.
Keep going, yeah.
All right. So it feels like we've come full circle
We have
in this deep dive.
full circle from
From the practical.
the practical to the mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it's all about.
And I hope our listener is feeling
Yeah.
empowered and inspired
Inspired and ready
to continue their journey
to keep going.
with English.
But before we say goodbye,
Yes.
I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question.
Oh, I like these.
Okay.
Okay.
So imagine you've reached that
Sure looked
advanced level of English fluency.
They're there.
What doors do you see opening?
What opportunities?
Yeah. What opportunities and possibilities
That's a good one.
do you envision for yourself?
Yeah, think about that.
We would love to hear
We would.
your aspirations
Yeah.
and your
And
dreams.
as you continue
Yeah.
on your journey, remember,
Yeah,
we are here to cheer you on
we are.
every step of the way.
So keep practicing, keep exploring,
Yes.
keep believing in your potential.
You've got this.
Until next time,
Until next time.
happy learning.
Happy learning. Hey there, fellow bookworms. Ready to level up your reading game? Today we're going deep, way past just finishing a book.
Yeah, think Reading Ninja. This is your secret decoder ring for unlocking those hidden layers of meaning in anything you read.
And our guide. This awesome piece, 7 tips to improve your reading at an advanced level. Practical advice, not just theory.
Totally. And it uses some really cool examples like switching between Great Gatsby and Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, to really stretch those reading muscles.
I love that, reading against the grain. It's so easy to stay in our comfort zones. What about you? What do you usually gravitate towards? What would be a surprising genre for you?
Oh, good question. I tend to lean towards nonfiction history biographies, that kind of thing. But to shake things up, maybe a graphic novel or poetry. I don't read a ton of poetry.
I get that. I love a good mystery, but I've been meaning to try more sci-fi, see what's out there. Which brings us to tip number 1, diversify your reading diet. The source is all about exploring different genres, styles, and topics.
Makes sense, right? Like food. You don't want to eat the same thing every day. You miss out on all those flavors and nutrients. Same with reading. Each genre has its own strengths, its own way of seeing the world.
Exactly. And they even suggest this cool activity. Read a news article on climate change, then read a poem on the same topic. See how different forms of writing can change your understanding.
That's such a good idea. The news article gives you the facts, right? But the poem might explore the emotional side, the impact on people. 2 totally different angles, but both important for understanding the whole picture.
Totally. Tip number 2 is all about active reading, something I'm always working on. It's about engaging with the text, not just skimming.
Yeah, that's where the magic happens. Active reading is like having a conversation with the author, asking questions, pushing back, making those connections in your own mind.
The source talks about the SQ3R method. Can you break that down for us? Why is it so helpful, especially with really complex texts?
I see SQ3R as a brain hack for better reading. It stands for survey, question, read, recite, review. Especially with dense stuff, it makes you slow down and engage on different levels. Like if you're reading the Federalist Papers, before diving in, you'd survey the structure, maybe skim headings or topic sentences.
So kind of setting the stage, getting an overview.
Exactly. Then you come up with questions based on what you see. What are the main points? What arguments is the author making? Now you're actively searching for answers as you read.
It's like a detective game.
Yes. Then the read phase, where you actively look for those answers.
Wait.
Next, you recite or summarize what you read in your own words. This helps solidify your understanding. And finally, review to make sure you remember the key points.
Intense, but it sounds super effective, especially for those brain bender books.
A mental workout, but a good one.
Okay, tip number 3 always gets me excited. Expanding our vocabulary. They suggest keeping a vocabulary journal, which sounds fun.
Like building your arsenal of words.
But what about those words that just completely stump you, like singularity in Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time? I remember just staring at that one, completely lost.
I know that feeling. Got to become a word detective. Context is everything. You can often figure out the meaning using root words, prefixes, suffixes, break it down into smaller parts.
Like solving a puzzle. And once you crack the code, that word unlocks a whole new level of understanding. I had that with epistemology in a philosophy book. I finally broke it down. Episteme meaning knowledge, and logos meaning study. Boom, the study of knowledge.
It's the best feeling. And those aha moments build on each other. Every new word opens up more understanding. You can tackle even more complex stuff.
Brain leveling up. Tip number 4 is where it gets interesting. Author's craft. Understanding the why behind an author's choices.
It's like peeking behind the curtain, seeing the magician's secrets.
Totally. They use 1984 as an example how Orwell creates that feeling of oppression through his writing. What are some clues we can look for to get an author's purpose?
Oh, so many. Tone, imagery, sentence structure, rhetorical devices, they all add up. Like, think about it. A short, choppy sentence creates urgency, tension, right? But a long, flowing one might feel more thoughtful.
Like composing music with words, using different instruments to create different effects.
Great analogy. And you, as the reader, start to pick up on those little cues. You see how everything plays a role. Word choice, pacing, even punctuation.
Like learning a secret language. They suggest analyzing a paragraph from Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse to really examine the sentence structure. I challenge you, try that with anything you're reading. Pick a passage and dissect it. It's amazing what you find.
I agree. Ask yourself, what choices are they making and why? You'll see patterns, appreciate the craft even more.
Okay, tip number 5 gets into summarizing and critical thinking. Essential skills for any advanced reader. I'll admit, sometimes I just want to get lost in the story, but slowing down to analyze is crucial too.
It's like the difference between watching a movie passively versus really engaging with it. When you summarize, you got to boil things down to the essence, really understand the main points. Critical thinking is about questioning assumptions, looking at different perspectives, and evaluating the evidence.
They talk about summarizing an article on AI, which is constantly changing. Imagine trying to sum up all those complex ideas.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
But so valuable. Critical thinking is even more important now. We're bombarded with information from everywhere. You got to be able to tell fact from opinion, bias from objectivity.
It's about being a smart consumer of information, not just believing everything you read.
Exactly. And a great way to practice those skills is joining a book club or discussion group.
Have you ever read Thoreau's Civil Disobedience? Talk about sparking debate. Those ideas about individual conscience versus the state are still so relevant. Imagine discussing that in a book club. Things could get heated in a good way.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that one. A book club is like having your own team of experts to bounce ideas off of. You hear different interpretations, challenge your own assumptions. You might discover things you missed on your own.
It's like having multiple lenses to view the same material. Plus, you might find new authors or genres you wouldn't have tried otherwise. And it's just fun to geek out with other book lovers.
Totally. It's a built-in support system for your reading journey.
Speaking of support, ready for tip number 6. This one might surprise you. Reading aloud.
I know, right? It sounds a bit counterintuitive, but trust me, there are benefits, especially for complex texts.
They even suggest trying it with Shakespearean sonnets. To appreciate the rhythm and flow, like adding another dimension to the words.
It is. It forces you to slow down, enunciate clearly, savor the language. Especially helpful with poetry, but even with prose it makes a difference. Imagine tackling a dense philosophical argument out loud. It becomes so much clearer.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. It's like using more of your senses to engage with the material.
Exactly. And remember, we learned language through sound first. Reading aloud taps into that. Plus, think about when we were kids reading aloud together. We learned so much that way.
I loved those read-alouds in school. And the source even says, record yourself reading aloud and listen back.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It might feel awkward, but it's a fantastic way to see where you stumble, work on pronunciation, improve fluency, like your own personal coach.
I'm adding that to my toolkit. Okay, our final tip. Goal setting. I'm all about goals, but sometimes I'm not sure where to start, especially with something as broad as reading.
I get that. The source uses War and Peace as an example, which is a big one, but they have a great point. Break down big goals into smaller chunks.
So instead of I'm going to read War and Peace, it's I'm going to read 50 pages a week.
Exactly. It feels much less scary.
Yeah.
And you get that sense of accomplishment as you hit those smaller milestones.
And there are great tools to help you track your progress. I love Goodreads. It's so motivating to see what you've read, find new books, share your thoughts.
It's a great community for book lovers.
Yeah.
And speaking of community, they mentioned book clubs again. There's nothing like connecting with other readers and really diving deep together.
It's like a cheering squad for your reading journey. So we've covered a lot. Diversifying our reading, active reading, vocabulary, author's craft, summarizing, reading aloud, and goal setting. It's been quite the exploration of becoming a more advanced reader.
It has. And I hope our listeners feel inspired to take their reading to that next level.
Me too. You know, as we wrap up this part, it makes me think about the power of reading. It's not just about knowledge. It's about understanding the world and ourselves better.
That's beautifully put. It's about empathy, critical thinking, opening ourselves up to new perspectives and possibilities.
Exactly. And it's a journey that never really ends. There's always something new to discover, a new connection to make.
And with the right tools and techniques, we can keep growing as readers our whole lives.
I love that. So, as we wrap up this segment of our deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought. What's one book or article you've always wanted to read, but felt intimidated by?
What's that one that's been sitting on your shelf, whispering promises of adventure?
Maybe it's a classic, a dense philosophical work, or something scientific that's always intrigued you. Now is the time to embrace the challenge.
Use the tips we've discussed and approach it with confidence, curiosity, a sense of adventure. You might be surprised.
Now, before we move on to part 2, we want to hear from you. What's one aha moment you've had while reading? Share your stories, your insights, your favorite reading techniques. We'll be back soon with more on how to level up your reading game.
That reminds me of when I was wrestling with this really dense philosophy book, and I was just stuck. I tried recording myself reading it aloud just to see, and honestly,
What happened?
it was like someone else was reading. I picked up on all these things I totally missed before.
It's amazing how just changing how you interact with the text can do that. Like unlock it. Speaking of unlocking, tip number 6 is all about reading aloud.
Yeah, I know, right? Sounds a bit old school.
Yeah, like elementary school. But the source makes a good case for it, especially for becoming more advanced readers.
Essentially.
They even suggest reading Shakespeare out loud, like those sonnets,
Oh, yeah.
to get the rhythm and flow. What's the idea there?
When you read silently, don't you think you kind of skim? Your mind races ahead.
Oh, for sure.
But reading aloud, you got to slow down. Enunciate every word. Really savor the language. Like it adds this whole other dimension.
Almost like performing it, bringing it to life. So you pick up on those subtle things you might miss otherwise.
Exactly. And it's not just poetry. Think about a tough philosophical argument or even a legal document. Reading it aloud can make it so much clearer.
Okay, I see what you're saying. It's like using more of your senses to really engage with it, which helps you remember it better too.
Right. And we learn language through hearing first, don't we? Yeah. So reading aloud kind of taps into that. Plus, it's like when we were kids reading aloud together.
Yeah.
Remember how much we absorbed?
I do. Those were great. And the source even says to try recording yourself reading aloud and listening back.
I know, it sounds a little weird.
Yeah, but it could be really helpful.
Absolutely. You can hear where you trip up, work on pronunciation, get more fluent overall. It's like having your own personal coach.
I gotta try that. Okay, last tip from the source. Goal setting. I'm a huge believer in goals, but I'm not always sure where to begin with reading. It can feel so overwhelming.
I understand that. They use War and Peace as an example, which, yeah.
That's a big one, intimidating. But their point is, break it down.
Exactly. So instead of I'm going to read War and Peace, maybe it's I'm going to read 50 pages a week.
Right. Way less daunting.
And you get that feeling of accomplishment as you hit those smaller goals.
Which keeps you motivated. And there are great tools to help, like Goodreads. I love that. Seeing your progress, finding new books, sharing your thoughts.
It's such a great community for book lovers. And that brings us back to community in general, right?
Yeah. Book clubs, online groups, even just friends you swap books with. It makes a difference.
Totally. Having other readers around you, it's like a support system.
A cheering squad for your reading.
I like that. And with all this talk about tips and goals, it's important to remember, reading should be fun.
Oh, absolutely.
We can get so caught up in improving that we forget to enjoy a good book.
So true. It shouldn't feel like work.
It's like anything else. You got to find that sweet spot between challenge and pleasure.
All right, we've done a deep dive on these 7 tips, but before we go, I want to ask you, the listener, what really stuck with you?
Was there one that was like, aha, that's it?
Or maybe a challenge you're ready to tackle now?
Want to hear your thoughts. Reading is a journey, and the best ones are shared.
So let's keep talking. What are your favorite ways to level up your reading game? We'll be back with more soon. So we've been talking about all these great tips for becoming better readers. But sometimes, even with the best techniques, you just hit a wall.
For sure.
You get those books, those articles, even just certain paragraphs, and you're like, ugh, this is a struggle.
Yeah.
And it can be so discouraging. You're excited to read something new, and then it just doesn't click. What do you do when you run into that, when you're just not connecting?
Well, first you got to remember, it's okay. It's normal to struggle with certain things.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're a bad reader or that the writing is bad. Sometimes it's just not a good fit for you.
I like that, giving yourself permission to not love everything.
Exactly. Once you accept that, you can look at those tougher texts with more, maybe a little kindness towards yourself and curiosity.
So instead of getting frustrated, you ask, okay, what's making this hard for me?
Yeah. Is it the vocabulary, the sentences, the topic itself?
Right.
And once you figure out what it is, you can start to find ways to deal with it. Vocabulary. Maybe you grab the dictionary. Or look for clues in the surrounding words. Tricky sentences. Break them down into smaller parts. Or read them aloud. See if the rhythm helps.
You're like a reading detective, using your tools to crack the case.
I love that. And sometimes the best thing is to just walk away for a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Go for a walk, listen to music, do something completely different. Come back with fresh eyes.
That distance can really help. It's like with a painting, you step back to see the whole picture.
Exactly. And honestly, remember that reading should be fun. If you're always fighting with it, feeling frustrated, maybe it's time to try something else.
I agree. A different genre, a new author, or even an old favorite that always makes you happy. There's so many amazing books out there. There's something for everyone.
For sure. The important thing is to find what you're curious about, what sparks your imagination.
As we wrap up this whole deep dive into reading, it keeps coming back to this.
Yes.
It's so personal.
It really is.
We can learn techniques, we can get better at it, but at the end of the day, it's that connection you make with what you're reading.
It's like connecting with another mind, even if they lived centuries ago, exploring new worlds, understanding ourselves and the universe better.
A journey of discovery. And like all good journeys, the best thing is to go with curiosity, a sense of wonder, and be open to getting a little lost along the way.
Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never lose that sense of wonder. That's the magic of reading.
That's all for this episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you found some inspiration to level up your reading game. Until next time, happy reading.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to unlock some of the secrets of fluent English.
I think we all know that feeling, like you understand the individual words, but something's missing.
It's like everyone else is in on a joke and you're left out.
Exactly. And that's where idioms come in, right? They're like these little cultural puzzles that can really trip you up.
And today, we're going deep into the world of idioms, tackling a list of 21 that are key to taking your English from intermediate to advanced, really sounding more natural and fluent.
And idioms aren't just about sounding good, are they? They often give us a glimpse into the history and the culture of a language.
Oh, absolutely. So we'll be unpacking not just what these idioms mean, but also where they come from and how to use them effectively in different situations.
And maybe even a few funny stories along the way. So are you ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's get started with our first idiom, a blessing in disguise. Have you ever experienced something that seemed bad at first, but turned out to be a good thing in the end?
I think we all have. It's like that feeling when you miss a flight and then you find out it got delayed for hours anyway.
Exactly. Or maybe you didn't get the job you really wanted, but ended up with an even better opportunity. It's those moments when we realize that things happen for a reason.
And that sometimes what we perceive as setbacks can actually lead us to something much better.
It's like the universe has a plan, right?
Right. And speaking of getting to the point, our next idiom is beat around the bush. I think we're all guilty of this sometimes, especially when we have to have a difficult conversation.
Oh, for sure. Instead of just coming out and saying what we mean, we kind of dance around the topic, hoping the other person will figure it out.
Yeah, like when you want to ask for a raise, but you start talking about how much you love your job and how dedicated you are.
Instead of just saying, hey, I think I deserve a raise.
Right. It's that awkward feeling of wanting to address something, but not wanting to be too direct.
So how do we break out of that beating around the bush habit? Any tips for being more direct?
Well, I think being mindful of it is the first step, recognizing when we're doing it, and then just practicing being more straightforward, even if it feels a little uncomfortable at first.
Now picture this. You're at a party, you don't know many people, and you want to start a conversation. That's where you need to break the ice.
Oh, yes, break the ice. That's a classic one. It's all about easing that initial awkwardness, isn't it?
Exactly. It's about creating that first connection, like literally breaking through a sheet of ice to open up a pathway for conversation.
And sometimes it can be as simple as a compliment, like, I love your shoes.
Or even a simple question like, have you tried any of the appetizers yet? Anything to get the conversation flowing.
Exactly. And, sometimes humor can be a great icebreaker, too.
Oh, yeah. A well-timed joke can definitely lighten the mood.
It's all about finding that common ground, that shared moment of laughter.
Now, let's talk about something that can cost an arm and a leg. It's when something is just ridiculously expensive.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, have you seen the prices of concert tickets these days?
Oh my gosh, they're insane.
It's like they want you to give up a limb just to see your favorite band.
It's that feeling of, it's really worth that much.
Right? But sometimes you just gotta splurge,
But let's talk about those satisfying moments when you get something exactly right, like when you hit the nail on the head.
Ah, yes, it's that feeling of nailing it, isn't it? Like when you perfectly describe a situation or you figure out the root cause of a problem.
With like that aha moment. And it likely comes from, actually hammering a nail and getting it perfectly straight.
Right. And it's such a satisfying feeling, whether you're talking about solving a problem or just understanding a concept.
So have you ever hit the nail on the head with something recently?
Let me think. Oh, actually, just the other day, a friend was describing a situation they were going through, and I was able to offer some advice that really resonated with them. They said, I hit the nail on the head.
It's like you were able to see the situation clearly and offer the perfect solution.
Exactly. It felt good to be able to help.
Now, switching gears a bit, have you ever been feeling under the weather?
Ooh, I think we all know that feeling. It's that kind of blah feeling when you're just not quite yourself.
Right, like maybe you have a slight cold or just feel a bit run down.
And no one wants to hear all your symptoms.
Exactly. Under the weather is a much gentler way to say, I'm not feeling great.
And I've always wondered where that one came from.
Me too. I've heard it might be related to sailors feeling seasick when the weather was rough.
Oh, that makes sense. Like the weather is literally affecting how you feel.
Now be careful not to let the cat out of the bag.
Oops. That's when you accidentally reveal a secret, isn't it?
Exactly. Like if you're planning a surprise party and someone spills the beans to the guest of honor.
I've always loved the imagery with that one. Like imagine a cat jumping out of a bag and everyone's surprised.
It's such a vivid way to describe that moment of, oh no, I shouldn't have said that.
And it happens to the best of us.
So how do we avoid those cat out of the bag situations? Any tips for keeping secrets safe?
I think sometimes it's better not to know the secret at all if you're someone who tends to blurt things out.
That's a great point. If you don't know, you can't accidentally reveal it.
Exactly. Or, just be extra careful about who you talk to and what you say.
But sometimes you just have to accept that the ball is in your court.
Ah, yes. That's when it's someone else's turn to make a decision or take action.
It's like passing the baton in a relay race.
Exactly. You've done your part, and now it's up to them to decide what to do next.
It's often used in negotiations or discussions, right?
Yes, like when you've presented your offer and you're waiting for the other person to respond.
And sometimes, to get things done, you just have to burn the midnight oil.
Yeah, that's a good one. It means staying up late, working, usually on a project or deadline.
Back in the day, it literally meant working by the light of an oil lamp.
Right. But nowadays, it's more about that feeling of burning the candle at both ends.
But sometimes, you have to face those challenges head on. Like when you have to bite the bullet.
It means doing something difficult or unpleasant, even though you don't want to.
Like going to the dentist, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or having that tough conversation you've been putting off.
But on a brighter note, some things happen very rarely, like once in a blue moon.
Oh, I love this one. It's so poetic. And it actually refers to a real astronomical event. you know?
Really?
Yeah, when a second full moon occurs within the same calendar month. It doesn't actually look blue, though.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's something that happens very infrequently.
Exactly. Like winning the lottery or seeing a unicorn.
Now, let's talk about maximizing efficiency. It's like when you kill two birds with one stone.
Yes. It's about accomplishing two things with one action, isn't it?
Like if you need to go to the post office and the grocery store, and they're right next to each other, you can do both errands in one trip.
Exactly. It's all about being smart with your time and effort.
And sometimes things are surprisingly easy, like a piece of cake.
Oh, yeah. That's a great way to say something was simple and effortless.
It makes it sound almost enjoyable, right? Like it was no trouble at all.
Exactly. Like, that exam was a piece of cake.
But be careful not to put all your eggs in one basket.
Oh, yes. That's a good reminder. It's about diversification, isn't it? Not putting all your hopes or resources into one thing.
Exactly. It's like spreading your risk so if one thing doesn't work out, you have others to fall back on.
Right. Like, don't invest all your money in one stock. Or don't rely on just one person for your happiness.
Speaking of revealing secrets, sometimes you accidentally spill the beans.
Oops. That's like letting the cat out of the bag. Right. But maybe a bit more unintentional.
Right. It's like you just blurt something out without thinking.
And it can be so embarrassing.
It is. Especially if it's a secret that you're supposed to keep.
Oh, for sure. But sometimes it's just a funny slip up.
But it's always important to consider different perspectives and not take everything at face value. That's when you take something with a grain of salt.
Yeah, it means being a little skeptical, doesn't it? Not believing everything you hear.
Especially in today's world, with so much information flying around, it's crucial to be discerning, to question things.
Right. Not everything is as it seems.
So how do you decide what to take with a grain of salt? What are some red flags?
That's a good question. I think it's about looking at the source of the information, you know. Is it a reliable source?
And sometimes, no matter how hard you try, you just have to throw in the towel.
Yeah, that's when you admit defeat, isn't it? You realize it's time to give up.
It's like knowing when to walk away from a fight.
Right. It's not always easy, but sometimes it's the best thing to do.
And have you ever felt like you were barking up the wrong tree?
Oh, definitely. It's when you're pursuing a path or a solution that's just not going to work.
You're putting in all this effort, but you're headed in the wrong direction.
It's like you're lost in the woods and you keep going deeper and deeper, but you're not getting any closer to your destination.
Exactly. And sometimes it takes a while to realize that you're on the wrong track.
It does. But it's important to be able to recognize those dead ends and be willing to change course.
So how do you know when it's time to stop barking up the wrong tree and try a different approach?
I think it's about paying attention to the signs. You know, if you're not making any progress, if you keep hitting roadblocks, it might be time to step back and reassess your strategy.
That's great advice. Now, wouldn't it be amazing to always have the best of both worlds?
That is the dream, isn't it? It's like having your cake and eating it too.
Exactly. It's about finding that perfect balance, that ideal situation where you get the advantages of two seemingly opposite things.
Like imagine working from home, but still having that sense of community and collaboration that comes from being in an office.
But sometimes you just have to throw caution to the wind and go for it.
Oh, absolutely. It's about embracing risk and spontaneity, letting go of your fears and just going for it.
It's like that feeling of freedom and excitement when you decide to do something unexpected.
Exactly. Like quitting your job to travel the world.
And finally, going above and beyond, giving it your all, that's going the extra mile.
It's about exceeding expectations, isn't it? Putting in that extra effort to make something truly special.
Like staying late to help a colleague finish a project or going out of your way to make a customer happy. It's those little things that make a big difference.
And, you know, going the extra mile doesn't always have to be about work. It can be about anything, really.
Oh, absolutely. It's about that attitude of always striving to do your best.
Exactly. And it's something that people really appreciate, whether it's in your personal or professional life.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, explored 21 essential idioms. What stands out to you so far? Any favorites?
So many great ones. I think bite the bullet is one that really resonates with me. It's a reminder that sometimes we just have to face those challenges head on, even if it's uncomfortable. What about you?
I think the best of both worlds really appeals to me. That idea of finding balance and enjoying the benefits of different perspectives.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a reminder that we don't always have to choose one thing over another. Sometimes we can find a way to have it all.
Exactly. And that's a great note to end on for this part of our deep dive. We've only just begun to scratch the surface of these idioms, but we'll be back soon to explore even more of their nuances and applications.
Looking forward to it. I think for me, Bite the Bullet is one of the ones that really stands out.
Yeah, I get that. Knowing the history behind it too, like, wow.
It just highlights that kind of courage,
Right.
that we need to face things we don't really want to.
Like steeling yourself, getting ready.
Totally.
And have you ever had to bite the bullet recently?
Oh, all the time. I think we all do, right?
Yeah.
But one that comes to mind is I remember having to give a presentation to, a huge audience.
Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah. And I was so terrified, but I knew I just had to bite the bullet, get up there and do it.
And I bet once you did, it wasn't so bad.
It's always like that, right? The anticipation is worse.
The build-up. And it makes you stronger, too, each time.
Oh, absolutely. And that actually makes me think of barking up the wrong tree, because sometimes you think you're, doing the right thing.
Putting in all this effort.
And then you realize, oh, this is a dead end.
You're headed in the wrong direction.
Completely. And that happens a lot, I think, especially today with so much information.
Oh, yeah. It's overwhelming.
It really is. And so it's easy to get sidetracked.
Yeah, to go down rabbit holes.
But I think there's a lot of value in recognizing that you're doing that.
Totally.
And then you can say, okay, well, what other options do I have? How else can I approach this?
It's about being flexible, being adaptable.
Yeah, and I think that leads us nicely to the best of both worlds, because...
Ooh, the ideal.
Right. Because sometimes you do have to choose one or the other, but sometimes you can find a way to get the benefits of both.
To kind of merge them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, having that flexibility of working remotely, but also still having that in-person connection.
Yeah, that sense of community.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to throw caution to the wind.
And just go for it.
Right.
I love those moments.
Those are the best, those spontaneous decisions.
Absolutely. Even if it's a little bit scary, a little bit risky.
Like quitting your job to travel the world.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
But so freeing. Right.
It is. And I think those are the moments that really can shape our lives.
Yeah, those leaps of faith.
For sure.
And then it's about putting in that extra effort, going the extra mile.
Yes, it's like going above and beyond.
Right, really making a difference.
Yeah, exceeding those expectations.
So have you gone the extra mile for anything lately?
I've been really focused on a project at work.
Okay.
I've been, putting in the extra hours and really trying to make sure it's the best it can be.
To make it shine.
Yeah.
So we've talked about how to use these idioms, but I think it's also interesting to think about what they reveal about the culture of English speakers.
What do you think?
Well, I think one theme that keeps coming up is hard work, perseverance.
Yeah, I see that. Like, bite the bullet, burn the midnight oil. It's like you push through those challenges.
You don't give up.
Exactly.
You get it done.
And then you also have throw caution to the wind, which is more about that kind of risk-taking spirit.
Yeah, that adventurous side.
So it's interesting. It's like there's that balance.
Of both.
Yeah, you work hard, but you're not afraid to try new things and take a chance.
And the best of both worlds speaks to that, that balance, compromise.
Yeah, like finding the middle ground.
Yeah.
Trying to see things from different perspectives.
And take it with a grain of salt, which is kind of like, don't believe everything you hear, right?
Question things.
Be a critical thinker.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what would you say are some key takeaways for our listeners?
I think don't be afraid to start using these idioms. The more you use them, the more natural they'll feel.
Practice makes perfect.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important to remember that idioms are more than just words. They're really a window into the culture.
Yeah, they tell us something about the values and the beliefs of the people who use them.
So pay attention to how people use them in different contexts, and you'll start to pick up on those nuances.
Yeah, you'll gain a deeper understanding, not just of the language, but of the culture as well.
Yeah, it really is fascinating to see how much we can learn just from these little phrases. It's like they're little time capsules of culture. So let's talk a little bit more about that connection between language and culture.
Yeah.
Do you think the idioms we use, do they actually influence how we think?
Ooh, that's a really interesting question.
Right. It makes you wonder, like, if these phrases that we use all the time, if they kind of subtly shape our perceptions of the world, like spill the beans, for example, does that say something about a culture that values discretion?
Yeah.
Or does using that idiom actually reinforce that value, make us more aware of keeping secrets?
Yeah, it's like, which came first?
The chicken or the egg?
Exactly. Does language reflect culture, or does it shape it?
Or maybe a bit of both.
I think it's probably a bit of both,
Yeah.
you know? It's this kind of back and forth
Yeah.
between the words we use and how we see the world.
And that makes me think about throw caution to the wind, too.
Yeah.
Does that reflect a culture that's maybe more prone to taking risks?
Yeah, or does it encourage us to be more adventurous, you know?
Right. To embrace those leaps of faith
Yeah.
and the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Does that suggest that we like balance, compromise?
Mm-hmm.
Or does it actually encourage us to seek out those win-win situations?
Yeah. It's really fascinating to think about.
It's like language is this tool that can both reflect and influence
Mm-hmm.
our values and beliefs.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes learning idioms, you know, so much fun. Yeah. It's not just about the words themselves. It's about what they tell us about the culture and about ourselves, really.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into these 21 essential idioms,
Yeah.
what would you say is your biggest takeaway for our listeners?
Don't just memorize them, experience them.
Ooh, I love that.
You know, listen for them when you hear people talking, when you watch movies, when you listen to music.
See how they're using them in real life.
Exactly. And try using them yourself. You know, the more you use them.
The more natural they'll feel.
Absolutely.
And it's like anything else you're learning. The more you immerse yourself, the more it becomes part of you. And the more you explore language,
Yeah,
the more you appreciate its beauty and its power.
it's true. Language it's a gift.
It is.
You know, it's a way to connect with other people and to understand different cultures.
To build bridges,
Exactly. And idioms are like little gems
they are.
that add so much richness to our communication.
So keep exploring, keep discovering, and keep diving deep into the world of words.
Yes.
Who knows what treasures you'll uncover?
Happy exploring. And until next time, may your conversations be filled with colorful idioms and insightful discoveries.
Hey everyone, and welcome. You know how sometimes you wish you could just switch between formal and informal English? Like it's nothing?
Like having a secret code, yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's kind of what we're diving into today. We've got this awesome cheat sheet all about formal versus informal English, and we're going to break it down.
It's like a superpower, choosing the right words for every situation.
Totally. I mean, imagine going to a job interview and accidentally slipping into super casual slang.
Or using like Shakespearean English when you're just texting your friend.
Oh, been there.
Right.
Not a good look.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. This cheat sheet starts with the core definitions of formal and informal English. And it's really cool how it explains why each style matters.
Yeah, like formal English is all about clarity, respect, you know, sounding professional.
Right. While informal English is warmer, more about connecting with people, showing your personality.
It's fascinating how each style creates a different effect. Like formal language, it's all about being clear and direct, especially when you need to sound authoritative or like an expert. You see it in legal documents, research papers, that sort of thing.
Makes sense.
But in formal language, that's how we build relationships. You know, express yourself naturally. Think about how you talk to your family or close friends.
So true. It's like having a whole linguistic toolbox. You choose the right tool for the job. Now, this cheat sheet has this awesome table of word pairs that really show the difference between formal and informal English.
Oh, yeah. Those are great examples.
There are a few that just jump out at me, like purchase versus buy. I mean, they basically mean the same thing, but purchase always feels so much more serious.
Yeah, purchase definitely has that heavier, more transactional feel to it. You wouldn't say, I'm going to purchase a candy bar at the store, right?
Definitely not.
But you would say, the company is considering the purchase of a new building. It's like purchase is reserved for bigger, more official things.
Interesting. So it's about using the right word for the situation. And speaking of, another word pair I wanted to ask about is obtain versus get. They both mean to acquire something, but obtain just sounds like you had to work so much harder.
You're right on. Obtain implies effort, and often there's a more formal process involved. Like you wouldn't say, I got my degree after years of study. It doesn't have the same impact.
Right.
You'd say, I obtained my degree. It emphasizes the accomplishment, the effort you put in.
Totally changes the feeling. Okay, I'm starting to see how these small word choices can really change how your message comes across. Now let's jump into some real-life scenarios this cheat sheet covers, like job interviews, texting, and social media.
Ooh, yeah. Those are where things can get tricky.
It's like navigating a linguistic minefield. Let's start with job interviews. They're already nerve-wracking enough. What's the biggest language mistake you've seen people make in those situations?
You know, it's not always about using the wrong word. It's more about the overall tone and being aware of the context. I once had this candidate who kept using slang and informal expressions throughout the whole interview.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it wasn't that they were trying to be disrespectful or anything, but it created this disconnect. It made it harder to assess their professionalism, how they would fit into the company culture.
I get it. It's like showing up to a fancy dinner party in, like, sweatpants. It's not that sweatpants are bad, they're just not right for the occasion.
Exactly.
So from your experience, what are some key tips for hitting that sweet spot? Being professional, but still sounding natural in a job interview.
Well, clarity and conciseness are always good things to keep in mind. Like, instead of saying, I endeavored to ameliorate the situation,
Right.
you could simply say, I worked to improve the situation. It gets the point across without being too complicated.
So it's about being impressive without being confusing.
Exactly. And don't forget about your nonverbal communication, too. Body language, tone of voice, those all play a part.
True. It's all about sending the right signals. All right, let's move on to something you mentioned earlier, texting. I know you're super busy. Do you ever find yourself overthinking your texts, especially when it comes to slang or abbreviations?
Oh, all the time. Texting is naturally informal, but there's still a spectrum there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll type something out and then think, wait, is this too casual? Or will they even understand this abbreviation?
Me too. Like, should I use lel or actually type out, that's funny? It's a real dilemma.
Right. So how do you figure out where the line is, especially when you're texting someone new?
Right.
I think it comes down to, reading the room, even if it's a virtual room. Pay attention to how the other person is texting. Are they using lots of slang, emojis?
Yeah.
Then you can probably loosen up a bit too, but if they're more reserved, it's better to be a little more careful, at least at first.
So it's a bit of a dance, like you said before, mirroring and adapting. That's really helpful. Okay, but what about social media? That feels like a whole different beast. You're potentially talking to tons of people at once.
Yeah.
How do you navigate the formal-informal balance there?
Social media is interesting because it often blends different levels of formality. You might be commenting on a friend's silly post 1 minute and then having a serious discussion in a professional group the next.
Right.
It's like having multiple conversations happening at the same time.
I never thought about it that way. So it's even more important to think about your audience and the purpose of your message.
For sure. Think about who you're trying to reach and what you want to achieve with your post or comment. Are you sharing a personal story, offering professional insights, or just messing around? That'll help you decide how formal to be.
Makes sense. Okay, we've talked about all these specific situations, but I'm curious. Have you ever come across a situation where the line between formal and informal was just totally blurred? Like you had no idea which style to use?
Oh, absolutely. It happens more often than you'd think. One that comes to mind is online forums, those communities where people from all walks of life come together. You might have someone using super technical jargon in one comment, and then someone else responds with a meme.
Oh, wow, a real mix.
It's a linguistic melting pot.
Sounds kind of overwhelming. So how do you even approach a situation like that?
I think the key is to be adaptable and focus on being clear. Even if you don't understand every single word or reference, try to get the main idea and respond in a way that's clear, respectful, and relevant to the topic. And don't be afraid to ask for clarification if you need it.
Great advice. So it's all about being flexible and open to learning. Okay, I'm feeling way more confident about handling these tricky situations now. But before we jump into the next part of your cheat sheet, let's take a quick breather and recap what we've covered so far. We started by defining formal and informal English, those two distinct styles. Then we dug into those tricky word pairs, like purchase versus buy, and saw how those subtle choices can really change your message. And we even tackled those real-life communication minefields, like job interviews, texting, and social media. We learned how to find that balance between being professional and being ourselves.
And the big takeaway is that language is constantly changing, right? So we got to be willing to adapt and learn as we go.
Love that perspective. It's not about always getting it right. It's about being aware, adaptable, and enjoying the ride. And speaking of enjoying the ride, let's buckle up and get ready to explore the fascinating world of how language evolves in the next part of our deep dive. Things are about to get even more interesting.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we got sidetracked with all those real-life scenarios, we were talking about how language is always evolving. I mean, think about how much English has changed even in the last few years. All those new slang terms, all those online expressions.
It's crazy, right? I feel like I need a dictionary just to keep up with my younger cousin sometimes. It's like they're speaking a whole new language. But seriously, how does all this change affect the whole formal versus informal thing? Is formal English becoming Like a dinosaur?
That's a really interesting question, and it's actually something that linguists are studying right now. Formal English definitely still has its place. Think about academia, law, government. Those are places where it's still really important.
Right, for official stuff.
Exactly. But it's not immune to change. Even something like email. Think how we used email 10 or 15 years ago. It was always so formal.
Well, you're super serious.
But these days, it's much more common to use relaxed language, especially with colleagues or clients you know well.
I definitely do that. I'm way more comfortable using contractions and even emojis in work emails now. Just depends who I'm emailing, of course.
Right. It's about finding that balance, being professional, but also building relationships.
Totally. And that's where things get really interesting, right? The lines are blurring in a lot of contexts.
Yeah, like social media is a perfect example, especially LinkedIn. You've got this mix of professional networking and more casual interaction. You might have a CEO posting this super insightful article, and then the next minute they're sharing a funny story about their weekend.
It's true. It's like a whole new world of communication. So are you saying we need to become like linguistic chameleons, constantly adapting to each platform and audience?
Well, it can feel like that sometimes, right? But I think the key is to be aware of what's going on, what the different expectations are. We don't have to abandon all the rules of formal English, but we can also be flexible and creative with informal language.
That reminds me of the practice exercises you included in the cheat sheet.
Oh,
They're not just about memorizing rules. They're about trying different styles, finding your own voice.
exactly. Like there's one where you rewrite a formal email in a more casual way, and then the other way around. It really gets you thinking.
It's like a workout for your language skills.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that language is a tool, and just like any tool, we need to know how to use it for different purposes.
I love that analogy, and that's one of the most important things to remember. Language is a tool. Just like a carpenter wouldn't use a hammer for every job, we need different linguistic tools for different situations.
Okay, I'm starting to feel like I can handle anything. But this whole idea of language evolving, it makes me wonder, what does this mean for the future of communication? Are we all going to end up just talking in emojis and internet slang?
That's a really fascinating question, and honestly, I don't think anyone knows for sure. There are some linguists who think we're moving towards a more informal, global style of communication, where things like grammar and formality become less important. Others think there will always be a need for clear, precise language, especially in professional and academic settings.
Right, it makes sense.
And then there are those who believe that technology, like AI, will play a huge role in shaping how we communicate in the future. Think about voice assistants like Siri and Alexa. They could potentially change the way we speak and write.
Wow, I hadn't even thought about that. So many possibilities. I can't even imagine what English will be like 50 or 100 years from now.
Me neither. But it's exciting to think we're all part of this evolution, right? Contributing our own words, phrases, ways of speaking.
Totally. Maybe someday my younger cousins will be teaching me the latest slang. Who knows? But for now, I feel way more equipped to handle the way things are now. We've covered so much formal and informal English, word choices, those tricky real-life situations.
Yeah, and we've learned that language is always changing, so it's a journey, really. Always something new to learn.
And speaking of journeys, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back to share some final thoughts and inspiration before wrapping up this deep dive. All right, we're back. I hope you had a chance to really think about how you can use all these formal and informal English skills in your own life. It's kind of like we've given you this treasure map, right? But now it's up to you to go out and explore.
I like that, a treasure map. And just like any explorer, you're going to run into some unexpected things, maybe a few challenges, but also some amazing discoveries.
For sure. Okay, before we wrap up our deep dive into formal versus informal English, let's do a quick recap. We started by defining those two styles, formal being all about authority and respect, and informal being more about connecting with people, letting your personality shine through. We even looked at those tricky word pairs like purchase versus buy and obtain versus get.
Yeah, the subtle differences can really make a big impact.
And we talked about all those everyday situations that can be tricky. Job interviews, texting, social media. We figured out how to strike that balance between being professional and being authentic.
It's like having a secret code for communication.
Totally. But honestly, the most fascinating part for me was realizing that language is never really finished. It's always changing, so we have to be ready to adapt.
It's true. The way we communicate today is totally different from even a few decades ago, and who knows what it'll be like in the future.
That's what makes it so exciting. But it also makes you wonder, right? What about the future of language? I mean, we talked about social media and technology, but what about AI? Do you think things like Siri and Alexa will change how we use formal and informal English?
That's a great question. Will we all start speaking in these perfectly grammatical sentences? Or will that casual conversational style from texting become even more common? It's really hard to say.
I know, right? It's kind of mind-blowing. It makes you realize how powerful language is.
Absolutely. It's something we often take for granted, but it shapes how we think, how we interact, how we see the world.
So true. Well, as we wrap up this episode, I want to leave you with this thought. Whether you're using formal or informal English, the most important thing is to communicate clearly and respectfully, and to let your own unique voice come through.
That's a great way to put it. Don't be afraid to experiment, try new things, make mistakes. That's how we all learn and grow.
Exactly. And remember, language is constantly evolving, so enjoy the journey. We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.